All right, hello everyone. We're here with Scott Lynn, formerly from Lincoln, Illinois. Went to Lincoln High School. Now is in Florida. Has had one really good career. Was just on the road with the Portland Trail Blazers, calling games for them on the radio. So Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Like I said, you went to Lincoln High School and then you went to Carbondale and then Edwardsville. This explained how you got into broadcasting. How did you fall in love with broadcasting basketball games?
Well, I grew up on a farm outside Burtonview, and my family we were big sports fans. We always went to Lincoln High School games, and so we grew up with that. I went to the races at Lincoln Speedway on Friday night when they had that 5th mile dirt track just behind Dairy Queen off Woodlawn. I was just a big sports fan growing up, and I always wanted to do play-by-play. Like my heroes, my broadcasting heroes were Harry Carey and Jack Buck, two Hall of Famers who were at that time the radio voices of the St. Louis Cardinals. I was a third-generation Cardinal fan. So I just grew up wanting to do play-by-play like them, and even out on the farm by myself, because I didn't have any neighbors to come over and play. I would play wiffle ball by myself, throwing the wiffle ball in the air and hitting it, and I would do play-by-play, alternating voices of being Harry Carey and Jack Buck, and I would pretend to be the Cardinals versus the Cubs. So I was called into duty to call games for the Portland Trail Blazers this season, and continue to be on standby. I've called almost 20 games this year, and I still might have 6 or 7 more in March and April. But the bottom line is, I had called when they called me prior to the start of the season and said, "Are you available to call games?" Because our play-by-play guy is needing to take a medical leave of absence. We're not sure how long he's going to be gone, so it could be a week, or it could be a month, or 2 months, or it could be the whole season. And we don't really have anybody in mind other than you to do this, because we know that you're retired or semi-retired in Florida. And we just thought about you because of your long connection and working in Portland. The radio station that airs the games is the same radio station I worked at for 25 years. So I was kind of a natural call for them.
Scott Lynn will be on the road for the rest of the season for the Portland Trail Blazers, calling games for them on the radio. Scott Lynn has written 2 books so far. The most recent one was in 2015 called Sports Idols, Idols' First Hero of Our Heroes, which is about sports stars and their heroes. And Scott mentions the people he interviewed for this book. The list just goes on and on. He was actually in Lincoln promoting this book about 2.5 years ago. But the second one was Thornridge, The Perfect Season in Black and White. The book's about a high school basketball team from the south side of Chicago who won back-to-back state championships in 1971 and 1972. Scott talks about why he decided to write the book and what he learned about from that team from the early 70s.
2008, in June, I woke up one night in the middle of the night and said, "You know what? If nobody else is going to write that book, I'm going to do it." It was just some sort of, I don't know, it wasn't infatuation really, but there was some sort of a draw to this team. I wondered what they did in their lives. And so I went into with the idea of doing a Boys of Summer type book. There was a Boys of Summer, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then they caught up with them later in their lives and what they did in their lives, and things like that. I had an idea to do a book like that about the Thornridge team. What did they do? Where did they go? Are they all still alive? What amazing stories are behind that championship team? So I got up in the middle of the night, went down and checked the IHSA website, found at that time they had pictures of all the state championship teams with the names of all the players and the coaches, and I printed that out and said, here it is. I'm going to try to contact all these players and coaches and as many people as possible.
Scott Lynn eventually tracked down the head coach of that Thornridge High School team and called him up and said, "You want to do an interview?" And went over to his house about a week and a half later and recorded 11 straight hours of this audio of them going back and forth. And Scott mentions he learned so much about that team. He realized it was just more than a game. Learned about the race car that went into that team and how some of the players had to go through a hard time just to even play basketball.
Bottom line was I got to Quinn Buckner and Boyd Batts and Mike Bonzik, who were all 3 first-team All-Staters. Buckner was the high school National Athlete of the Year, All-American in football and basketball.
Wow.
He went on and played for Bobby Knight at Indiana. He was Buckner. You're a young guy, you might not know. Quinn Buckner was the captain of the last undefeated NCAA champion, the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers.
Wow.
So he played for Buckner. So I talked to I don't know, hundreds of people for this book, and created that season. Found out some amazing stories. It was the early days of integration. In fact, Quinn Buckner's mom and dad marched for desegregation to try to open up Thornridge High School, which was previously an all-white school. Quinn was just, when he went in as a freshman, it was just the second year that any African-American kids were allowed in the school. So there was a whole backstory that I wasn't aware of about the early days of integration of the school, and basically how this team, the winning championships, how this group of players brought the black and white communities together. But at that time, in 1971 and 72, the success that that basketball team had really created some understanding between the black and white communities, and that was part of the book that I ended up wanting to write.
Scott Lynn, semi-retired in Tampa Bay now, but still calling games for Portland Trailblazers when they need them. But Scott, thank you so much for this interview, and look forward to talking to you again.
You're welcome. And I do want to say one thing for those Lincoln Rail Splitter fans who go out to Lincoln High and look at games. I believe I still have one record up on the record board. Free throws made in one game. Check it out. Scott Betzelberger, his name's still up there at Lincoln High.
Thank you, Scott, so much. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.